Hello.
Hi, one moment. I have some noisy background. I will mute for a second and fix that. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, do you want me to wait about 5 more minutes, or would you rather I started approximately now?
Yeah, why don't we wait like 5 minutes?
Okay. That's fine.
Was April coming? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure April was going to
Hop on.
us, although she wanted me to do the bulk of the discussion.
Okay.
And most of my video, I'm going to probably screen share just what I'm doing rather than a talking head type of video. I mean, I can do a talking head type of video. My dog's probably gonna walk by or whatever.
No, that sounds fine.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, welcome to the Wikipedia hackathon discussion. My name is Nicole. I'll be starting my talk in just a moment. And I'll be welcoming questions throughout my discussion. So if you think of a question, go ahead and put it in the chat bar. I'll have it open, and I'll address them when I address the questions when I get them in the talk. I think I'll start about now. I'm just going to go into a brief overview on Wikipedia, just what they are, what their philosophy is, and kind of why you would go into editing Wikipedia, and why you would choose to edit in women in audio. So first of all, Wikipedia is a open source encyclopedia. That's their, they have a philosophy that involves 5 main sections that they call their 5 pillars. And those 5 pillars refer to, well, the first pillar anyway refers to that Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. They are your go-to source if you want to know anything that exists. And since that's such a grand undertaking, it involves a lot of people to get that information out there. Their second pillar is that it is written in a neutral point of view. They are not there for opinions. They are there for answering your questions. They are there for answering questions you may have or may not have thought about. And for and in doing so, they want to present factual information that is researched, that is verifiable, that is not something that you can, things that are proven rather than conjecture or opinion. Wikipedia is a free content provider. So the content that's there, you don't have to pay to use, and it is free for anyone to access. It is also free for people to, almost anyone to edit. And it is also free for anyone to distribute. So therefore, anything on there is not copyright protected. It is open source, so it is almost a shared, it's a shared resource, it's a shared archive. And then the editors who, the fourth pillar is editors should treat each other with respect and civility. Let's assume that every editor is there just trying to be helpful, and no one's there with a pointed agenda. We're there to help each other out, and it's a community that is essentially there to create an encyclopedia. So we're trying to create an encyclopedia that is for everyone and anyone can use. So it's not someone's personal crusade. It's not someone's personal promotion. It is just there to answer questions. And finally, Wikipedia has no firm rules. So besides the pillars, which are more of this is the best practice, this is the smart way to do things, Wikipedia is not trying to limit anyone. They just have suggestions that make things easier. So when things are distributed, or when things are discussed, when when there are arguments, it is a discussion rather than a clear-cut yes or no, or and if you do make a mistake, mistakes are not permanent. You're not writing things in stone. Interpretations can evolve. Living biographies will eventually no longer be living biographies, and so forth. So when you start editing Wikipedia, and I'm going to open up my user page here because it has a lot of great insight and information, and I'll probably keep that up for most of the talk. When you do edit Wikipedia, the best advice is start slow. If you're not sure about Wikipedia, just go on to random pages. Look at the articles that have similar topics to what you want to edit or create. Look at the layout. Look at the different tabs. Figure out what they are, what they mean. And don't be afraid to ask questions and seek answers. I always, when I edit Wikipedia, have multiple tabs open there to answer any question I might have on what I'm editing. So the first thing you do is create an account when you edit Wikipedia. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So the first thing you do is create an account. My account and user information is here. It is just like creating any other account. You have a password and you have a username. Then the next thing you can do is have a sandbox. I don't actually have edited my sandbox at all. I have instead used my user page as a sandbox, but either way, they're similar in a lot of respects, but I'll break that their difference in. A user page is essentially your profile page. A lot of people just put a little bit of information about them. Like I have this section here, which tells a little bit about my philosophy and why I have this page set up the way I do. I have it's saved into Wikipedia's consciousness. So when you want to look it up, you can look it up with this title, User Liar Lyrebird. If you just type in Lyrebird, just part of the name, you're probably going to get an article on a bird that mimics sounds, mimics all sorts of sounds. So that's not exactly what you want to find if you're looking for my particular page. So it is a user page specifically for me. You can use it to practice just the different stylistic elements like I have. So I have practiced how to create different parts of a Wikipedia article with bullet points and with headers and categories, how to link to different things. For a sandbox, it is more like an Etch-a-Sketch. Things aren't saved permanently, but you can preview how you write an article. So a sandbox view, and this is not created right now. So this is where you can see, this is my sandbox. This is the name of my sandbox page. This is where I edit things in my sandbox. Wikipedia is made for every user, so everything in their article or everything in their edit window, so I have advanced, and I can click on advanced features and have it help me create different things to write. I have, if a name has special characters, I can look that up. It has a help section of commonly used formats. It has a citation help box. All of those things are there, and you can experiment with them. You're not going to break anything in the sandbox. It is a place where you can try out your article. You can create a rough draft of your article if you create an article in the sandbox before you do anything else. And Wikipedia wants people to use all these different resources in order to get the content to be, when you do add it in, just to be a little more robust or a little more closer to the final draft. Of course, nothing's going to be the final draft in Wikipedia because things are always changing, and that is okay. So we'll go back to my user page here. After you've kind of played around in the sandbox and created your user page, which not everyone creates a sandbox, not everyone creates a user page, but those are helpful tools. Once again, start by editing existing articles. So this is where in my user page I have articles create, but more importantly, I have articles to edit. So this is where articles will have flags on the top of them, so little banners that say this article needs to cite information, or this article is a stub and needs more information. There are lots of different sections where an article might need a bit more help. A lot of times on this particular section, I've written out articles that are fairly short. They have a little bit of information on them. They need sentences that are neutral, or they need more categories so that they're easier to find. Things like that are all also covered in the helpful links that I have posted at the top of my article, or at the top of my user page here. After you've edited a few articles, maybe you feel more comfortable and want to, so if you use your, so I'll answer Carrie's question here quickly. If you use a list to edit, so if you see my Wikipedia user page and there's an article that you want to fix, any one of these, and you want to let me know that you've edited them, I have created a helpful little tab, and I will show you where this tab is, and it will also let you know if, anyway, this tab I haven't quite covered yet, but we'll get there. It is called the Talk tab, and I'm going to click that now. So this is, you see a flag here. This is my Talk page. This is where you can discuss with me questions let me know things about my user page, or just let me know helpful information. So I'm going to quickly scroll down, and I have an article that I created. It wasn't approved right away. They told me why it wasn't approved right away. They have a welcome to creating an article and a helpful place for asking questions. I have joined a Wikipedia project, and this particular Wiki project is focused on articles of women who haven't been created yet and creating those articles. So they have sent me some helpful information about upcoming editathons, as well as just helpful themes and information. And then this is, I have seen fellow women in sound, and they have talked with me, and best way to edit articles or philosophies. And this is where you're going to discuss with me particular issues that you see that need to be fixed, or questions. And so down here, we have a couple things talking about our editathon. Someone who couldn't make it but had some useful suggestions. I suggest you look at them. But also, I have created, just for everyone who's coming here, a Sound Girls brag and question section. So if you have questions specifically about the article you want to edit, or just Wikipedia questions in general, I have a section here for you. And in this section, I also want you to tell me what articles you're editing. So when you go here and you see this, and you want to talk to me, we're going to go here to Edit Source. And it's going to open up a new window. And this window is where you can type some things out. So if I want to type something out, in particular, if I want to say respond specifically, I will put a colon to specifically respond. It will indent my next comment, and we'll say, I have edited a page and I'm going to use this specific example just because this is the article that I started on. Let's see. So I will show Karen Lamb, and I have edited that page. Let me know what I can work on. And now that I'm done with my comment, I'm going to sign my comment. One, two, three, four little tildes. These are just below your escape key. And when I show preview, so I haven't saved this edit, I have down here exactly what I wrote. I have edited the page for Karen Lamb, and that pops up as a Wikipedia link. Let me know what I can work on. And then it has my username and when I posted that comment. I will keep that up, so I will say publish changes. And now that is there for everyone to see, so that the next person who wants to talk to me can also do the same thing. So let me know what articles you're editing, because I will kind of be your little helper, your guide, and I can help make your article, if it's created or if it's edited, I can make those things become approved faster if they are closer to the guidelines or the layout that works best for Wikipedia. There is always more people creating articles and creating edits than there are people who help editors with their edits. So it takes a long time to get a new article approved. Anyway, so that's the talk page, and every single article has a talk page. It may have the link for the talk page may be read at that particular moment, meaning that no one has written anything down in it, but that does not mean there's no talk page. All you have to do is click that talk tab and start editing that talk tab to create a talk page. So either talk and then edit source, or talk and edit source down here on the particular section. So we'll go back to my user page for now. So you've chosen your article, and you want you've chosen your topic for your article after you've edited things, and after you've kind of figured out Wikipedia just a little bit, and you want to see an article that needs to be edited. First, double check that the article in question is something that hasn't been created yet. So that would often mean going to the search bar in Wikipedia here and typing, well, let's look at one of these examples. So Barbara Adams, that's my first example. I will go over to this search bar and type in Barbara Adams. Already I see there's several Barbara Adams. So I'm not entirely sure if this article has been created or not. So what I would do next is I would look at those other Barbara Adamses and see, are they the same Barbara Adams as the one I want to create an article on? And if they are not, then I would create my Barbara Adams article. The other thing to consider when creating your Barbara Adams article is you need to have enough resources to cite things that Barbara Adams has done as an audio engineer, things that make her notable as an audio engineer, just have enough information maybe to write about her biography and also the work she's done. So then you don't have a very short article that just says Barbara Adams is an audio engineer. Then when you've gathered resources, you've double checked that the article hasn't been created, you can create your article and then feel free to ask for help, either on the talk page or on my talk page here. Once again, you can ask for help, but also, as mentioned in my talk page, there are some other places where people who have been around longer can answer your questions, either the Women in Red Wikipedia project or the Tea House, Tea Room, or Wikipedia has helpful links here under tools. Wikipedia also has a primer for newcomers, articles, simple rules, And they have tons and tons and tons of help pages to make your Wikipedia editing process as painless as possible. And once again, every time, if you're unsure of what something's going to look like or how you're going to edit it, use the sandbox to figure out. It's your play place. It's a safe space where you can try out things without having to worry about it being published right away. So I found that the Wikipedia Women in Red article here, they have a 10 simple rules for editing or creating Women in Red articles. They have specific great rules here. Choose carefully, do your research, write why they are important, cite everything, because Wikipedia is an encyclopedia and everything should be verifiable, so you need references to state proof for your facts. Wikipedia is open source, so make sure you don't use copyrighted material and you don't copy and paste content. You can copy and paste their layout, their how they set up different formatting, but don't copy and paste content. So I can copy and paste something like ref list if I want to create a reference section, but I cannot copy and paste the article needs references for your source material into my article. And then use Wikilinks, link from your current article to another article, have that other article link to your article. Orphans are articles that do not link to anything else. And then make sure your layout makes sense. There are lots of different shortcuts, and that's this further addition section. And talk pages, which we've talked about before. Images are the last thing you need to add to anything, just because it's hard to find images without copyright protections. But this section has a great advice, which is, if you are in doubt, ask for advice. So if you're in doubt on anything about editing Wikipedia, ask for help. Every editor is there to help you, because we all have the same goal of making Wikipedia as comprehensive as possible and comprehensive with proven facts rather than opinions. So we'll go back to this wiki links here. These links I will show you an example of. So if we go to the next tab over that I have the article that I wrote. It is very brief. This particular director has not created a lot of films, but we'll explore some of how to create an article and the different breakdowns of layouts and important parts of an article. So I have my article, Karen Lamb, and she is known for a horror film. She is a Canadian director and producer. These are verifiable statements. I have a reference for that here. But if I go over to the wiki link, so the link that is internal to Wikipedia, and I click Evangeline Film, so I will now click that, it goes to Evangeline Film. And if you look, you can go back to Karen Lamb from Evangeline Film. We have some links here as well on how to get there. And also we have some other links here of other actors who are part of the film, as well as articles to links to other things that are related to the particular film. If we go back to Karen Lamb, we have articles, links to other articles, like where her alma mater is, or what the British Columbia Film Commission, or events that she participated in and awards that she received. If we want to see the skeleton of a Wikipedia article, how it's set up, we go over to the Edit Source tab. And here we have a flag just letting us know that this is a biography of a living person. So make sure that we're not writing something. Notice that it will change because a person's life changes as they do things and things happen to them. Use high quality sources. So we're not going to use IMDb, or we're not going to use Rotten Tomatoes in order to cite information. We're going to use actual interviews about her that she's done. We're only going to link to her work website. We're not actually going to use it as a source because she could make up information about herself and put it on her website. That's something that some people do on their personal websites. But so we're going to try and instead use journalistic articles and things that have more robust factual integrity. So in looking at my article, we have an information box, and that information box doesn't have an image, so I have nothing there. The name of the person, we have a birth name, a birth date, things that I can't verify. In my research, I couldn't figure out a birth date, but I could figure out a birthplace, so I wrote that down. And I have her occupation. When possible, I put links for her occupation. Years active, when that was verifiable, I was able to find that. I put her website here. And if you are creating an article and you want to put an info box, instead of typing each individual section here, you can just copy and paste this little box from curly Q bracket doubled to curly Q bracket doubled here, open and close. And then we have here 3 quotation marks, or 3 single apostrophes without a space between them to talk about Karen Lamb, bolded. So if we go show preview, I can show you how each of these work. So this is Karen Lamb here, is a Canadian director. And then we have the article here of the horror film she produced and reference. The info box that I mentioned earlier is over here. We scroll down back to our editing section, and we have Karen Lamb, and we wanted that bolded at that particular font. So that particular font size. So we have 3 apostrophes. Karen Lamb, 3 apostrophes, is a Canadian director, writer, and producer. She is known for the horror film, and I have this particular horror film, and then I have, this is the name of the article, or this is the link to the article, and then this is what I want the name of that link to be, and then this is the year of the film. If I just wanted a link to the film, I would have just done 2 square brackets, 2 square brackets, refer to that. And if you're confused by all of this type of coding, just copy and paste information I have here, which is Evangeline, from the square bracket to the square bracket, and say, okay, the film I'm talking about, or the person I'm talking about, her article name is Barbara Adams, and she's an audio engineer that's here, and I want to replace it instead with Barbara Adams. So then it's not confusing that I'm referring to this particular Barbara Adams and not some other Barbara Adams. But when they click to this Barbara Adams, they're definitely going to get the Barbara Adams that I'm referring to, rather than Barbara Adams, the geographer. The next important part is the reference. Here I have a very long bit of code that's referring to the reference. I didn't type that letter for letter. Instead, I used this helpful little tab button here, and I clicked Cite. And there's templates. I can cite a website. I can cite a news article. I can cite a book, and I can cite a journal. I can also just put, as someone else was helpful to point out, I can just do the reference open here with the reference name. So I can do a triangle bracket reference name equals, oh, hello again, reference name, and I can put that in quotation, no spaces, I'm sorry, equals quotation, I'm typing it out, but you can copy and paste the name of reference, and then close caret or triangular bracket, curly Q, your website, curly Q bracket to close, and then you have your open caret, you have, what is it? Reference, close reference. And you don't have to type that out either, you can just copy and paste. And that is your reference here. And that would, right now, that would come up with nothing. The thing you would change is the things in the quotations here and the website. And that is just a quick reference thing that you can do if it's too daunting even to fill out something else. I always find it's easier to just reference as you go because it's easier to figure out. It's easier to keep track of your references that way than try and figure out where did I pull this sentence 10 minutes later and you forget where this proven fact comes from. You have a career or a bolded section. Once again, you can just copy and paste my life and career and then title that life and career, however you want to title it instead. So going here, so this is not bolded, but it has a line under it. It is a subsection. We have more references, we have more links within Wikipedia. And then we have just more information about our person. All of these things were able to, I did not type each individual piece of code. Once again, letter by letter. I did a lot of copy and paste from other articles that were very similar to the one I was editing. If you notice, I even link to an article that I think will exist in the future, but doesn't exist currently. Some people do this. You don't have to do this. It makes it easier for whoever creates the Cat Deliva article. So if you know that you pick an article like Barbara Adams and you create it and you know she worked with someone else who doesn't have an article that's created yet, you can go ahead and say that in somewhere in maybe the career section, and you put a citation down to reference that person, Barbara Adams working with that person whose article hasn't been created. And then we have some other sections here like a table, which once again, I did not create this table from scratch. I let someone else create this table for me. And I figured out that each section has, we have the section here. This is a description of the size of my article, or the size of my table, and the titles of each of those columns and rows, and I have lots of great sections help me out. And if I'm not sure, then I'll look at another table and see how they did it. And the difference between those two tables are things I can change, and the things that are the same between those two tables, I can, I just copy and paste them as I need them. So anyway, we haven't done any editing. I believe, I'm going to double check, but I believe I deleted that random reference that I typed out, and I did. So we can just exit out of the editing and just go back to read tab. We're going to leave this page. And here is our article once again. We can look on the talk page and see that this is information on the talk page. If we wanted to edit the talk page and say, I want to do some more information on, I want to edit something in Karen Lamb's Wikipedia article, I can go here and type what I want to edit for Karen Lamb's Wikipedia article. If I think that there's a reference that is not robust enough, or if there's information that's debatable, I would put that information here. I would probably create a section of my main argument. So main topic of discussion. I would put what I am discussing, and then I would put, once again, those 4 tildes to sign off on, hello, to sign off on the article, or to sign off and put my signature, so to speak, on the talk page. So if we do a preview of that, you can see below the flags that were here, I have the topic, what I am discussing, my main topic of discussion here, and then my signature. I will delete these things that I have edited because I do not want them to be saved there. But I am going to then go back to the article. I'm going to leave page. So that is essentially how you edit Wikipedia articles and write them. Specific other things that are important about articles is we have these categories down here. These categories let people know that there are Canadian film directors, and these are Canadian film directors. I can then click the and see all the different types of Canadian film directors. I know that there are, if I go back also to then Canadian women film directors, I see there's Canadian women film directors. There's a variety of them. I can find articles that fit that category. This also helps your article relate to other articles and not be an island all by itself or an orphan all by itself, that people can only search for it by its name and not by Canadian women film directors. There's another type of article, and we'll go back to my user page. Let me find that. Go back to my user page here. And I have listed articles to create once again. I have listed articles to edit, which I suggest you look at articles. Anything below articles to edit, you can start looking at, look at its talk page, see where people have discussed what needs to be done on those articles. But then I also have not just biography articles, I have other articles to add or edit. Maybe it's a topic or a studio or an award. I also have categories that I just now made clickable. Before, if you looked on this page, I hadn't. That's because I recently learned how to make them clickable without them disappearing. Because when you link to a category, it now makes that page part of that category. And then you have lists. Lists are another type of article. They are a different type of article than a biography or an article about something. These are just a informative list. So I will now click list of all female bands. Now, it says all female, and if you note the hyphen, it's referring to bands with all female members. It is not referring to every single band that has only female members in it. Articles, when you do make a list, you try and make sure that your list, and this is what a list looks like, you only want to put information or things that fit under that list that are notable, that people have probably heard of, that have a lot of articles written on them, that maybe they have won an award or something like that. You don't want to put, if you just created an all-female band and you only play covers and you only play at your local bar, you don't want to put that band in this list. If you've created a few albums, they haven't had a lot of wide review, you might categorize your band. And once again, don't create an article about your band. Have someone else create an article about your band who is going to write an objective, not opinionated article about your band. I'll get into that further in just a second. But basically, so your friend's band, and they have an all-girl band that has recorded a few albums. So you write about that particular band, you write an objective article, and you put it under the category maybe of all-female bands. If they haven't done anything more than record a few albums and had a few interviews, then you probably don't want to put them on this list. So we'll go back to my user page, and we'll now click notable articles here. Notable articles, I have helpful links to let you know what is a notable article and what is not. If you're not sure, it's probably not a notable article. So we have lots of helpful information here on, and Wikipedia has tons of articles to help break down all their information like this. So if you're not sure, they have places to answer your questions either with a live person or with a static article like this. So when you create an article and you put it in a list, make sure that only the most notable examples go on that list. For categories, categories are perfect for putting everything that fits in that category in that category. Just make sure that the definitions of the categories work. And sometimes people go too gung-ho on categories and put a billion categories on one article. Generally use your judgment. Anyway. And then finally, down at the bottom here, I have a great section on lots of helpful places where you can find articles that need to be created, articles that need to be edited, notable articles for those topics. Not all the articles that are, I think, or that I wrote down on my lists here, so on my bullet points, not all of these articles are going to be ones that are notable, or I tried to choose ones with notability, and I tried to choose ones that maybe there was an interview with that person on Sound Girls or something like that. But just double check. Don't assume that I did all the work for you. Make sure that you verify it on your own. And then, so the Wikipedia projects here are lots of helpful tools. I put these flags down here just so you know. Another way to find them. They are groups of editors with similar goals in mind. So this article, this Wikipedia project focuses on actors and filmmakers. This one focuses on music albums. There's one on electronics, on entertainment technology. We have ones that want to make articles green, which means they are, they have a rating of green, which means they have images. All their references are verifiable. They are notable. They have tons of helpful information on that particular article. And then the women in red, and specifically music. So these are ones that the articles are related to music and women in music, but those particular biographies haven't been created yet. So there are a lot of people working on these different projects. They create task forces, which are groups of editors focused on a single particular task, maybe sorting out a category to make sure that it has all the right information, or making sure that a certain section of their topic, everyone has correct articles and or correct references and are not citing only IMDb, which is not a recognized verifiable source. So I have this page. It is set up for everyone to look at, and it's a great first stop if you are thinking about editing Wikipedia. It has a step-by-step primer from a lot of helpful resources. I actually start out on editing Wikipedia by going to my own user page and clicking these links, having those tabs open. So then I can make sure that the articles I edit are the right articles, or I'm editing the best of my ability and answering questions that I may have. And then I also have my talk page here, which has a lot of, it is a space for you to contact me and I can answer your questions. Or if you want to make sure no one else is going to edit that page, which is okay if someone else is editing the same page you are. But if you're worried about, if you want to work on your article without someone changing it at the same time you're changing it, you can let people know here that my article, or that you're editing that particular article. Just a quick recap: to edit a talk page, we have this section over here called Edit Source. You can click Edit Source here, or you can scroll down to that discussion that we had down here and click Edit Source. And we'll click Edit Source. And once again, I have this section here. You can copy that little colon, or you can just type in a colon or 2 colons and say, I have edited this particular page, link to page. So if you want a different page than Karen Lamb, just 2 square brackets, the name of your article that you're creating or editing, and then 2 more close brackets. Then tell me what your question is and all that information. Then you put 4 tildes, which is under the escape key usually, and it's the squiggly line that in Spanish goes over the N. And you put 4 of those to put in your signature. I have that here, just those 4. I can put 4 more down, but anyway, and we'll do a preview. So show preview, and look, I have signed the page twice. So I have commented here the first time with the 4 tildes, and I have commented here with the 4 tildes. Just let them know that who you are, so I can find you and help you out and respond to you directly rather than respond to, or basically respond to a stranger. I will delete those because it's confusing when you keep just redoing your signature over and over. So, and I didn't really do any permanent changes, so we can actually click back to read on the talk page, and we'll leave page. Let's see. I think I've covered mostly everything. So go ahead and ask me anything you need clarified.
And I'll jump in here too. Hi guys, sorry I'm late. It's April. I know this is one of the hardest things for me to figure out when I first started on Wikipedia was just like, how do you talk to people? And it took a little while to figure out that there's a screen like what you're seeing right now, which is just like everything looking pretty, and then there's the source code, which is kind of like the programming code. So sometimes you get on pages that are where you have to write with quote unquote code, and sometimes you just type. Nicole, maybe you could clarify a little more like which pages are which.
So on talk pages, they look like just normal pages, but you have edit source. Every page that you would use for code, every page that you would type code in is essentially source. So you edit source on any of those. And a user page, a talk page, and any article has any article of those have a source where you write in code. But if I go to one of these articles here, we'll just click the first link here. This is a very short article. If I want to go to a talk page, I go here, then I click edit source if I want to say what I want to contribute. Basically, all I would do, you can mostly just type normally, but then you should always sign your post on talk pages and sign your post on talk pages. Other editors will help you if you make a mistake. You don't have to worry about making a mistake. It's not a big deal at all, because we're all here to help. So anyway, this is so you edit source on the talk page for the particular article. This is where you write code. Article here, if you want to edit. And if you want to see the history of the changes, those are all available. So if you make a very drastic mistake, you can look up, and you accidentally press publish, it's not the end of the world. You can go to a previous history and edit from there and choose that. But anyway, so if you're new and you've never done anything with Wikipedia before and don't know where to start, and you've looked at the articles that I've written for Soundgirl's blog and it's still not answering all your questions, Wikipedia has a primer for newcomers. And it says, we're all volunteers, it's trying to be friendly. We have the basics, policy guidelines, getting familiar with Wikipedia, picking a topic, all the things that I've been talking about. User space, your own personal page, on using a sandbox, which is essentially an Etch-a-Sketch where you have no consequences. You can learn all the different coding things. Building an article in your sandbox. From there, you can copy all the text from your sandbox and move it to the article you want to create. How to choose reliable sources. What are reliable sources? What's a rule of thumb for reliable sources? How to do external links, how to do citations. And there are shortcuts to those, and it will mention those. How to move a page from sandbox to main space. Main space is main Wikipedia. Sandbox is your personal Etch-a-Sketch. What to expect. Oops, did someone say your article is not in the philosophy of Wikipedia? Well, if you are pretty sure it is and you're wondering why your article is getting, like, basically how to deal with rejection, well, we have a step-by-step why we did this, and ways to understand and react and talk to people on how to fix the problems. Basically, it's similar on if you deal with someone who keeps editing that page you just created and you're wondering why are they editing the page, how to react to that too. Images, which as if you're a new user, I wouldn't suggest dealing with images. I haven't really dealt with images yet. I don't feel comfortable trying to find a copyright-free image. That's something that I'm going to have to figure out and learn. And then further reading. Wikipedia also has a whole helpful section over here with editing policy and all the pages that go with editing policy, how to create an account, how to edit, how-to pages, talk pages, referencing, starting an article wizard that will walk you through step by step by step on your article. All the things that are here on this page, but more in depth. Writing advice, and community. So portals, what those are, what dashboards are, what Wikipedia projects are, or wiki projects as they're called. Frequently asked questions, help index, tools, Key House, and help desk. These are two great resources. Tea House is just a nice, calm atmosphere to ask tons of questions to experienced editors. And help desk is a very similar thing. It's just more of like the informal ask a question, get a boilerplate answer. So this article, that's why I've put it on my user page. It's a great place for new volunteers to find. And once again, that's resources for starting your first article, but it's also resources for before you start editing. So primer for newcomers. Here's a great step-by-step similar article for your first article. The article that had great rules for writing about biographies of women. What makes a good article? What makes an article that Wikipedia is like, this is the example of what we want all our articles to be. Here's common mistakes. Here is how to determine how many people know about your article, or how notable that person is that you're writing about. And you can use it as a guideline for how noticeable or how notable is that person or that studio or that topic is you're writing about. List of bad article ideas so you know what to avoid. A directory of all the different help pages. A help page on how to navigate talk pages. If you get more comfortable, how to write a better article. How to create tables for, or what's the best way to name something in style or layout. This one's specifically for music. How to cite sources. How to deal with categorization. Another great list of do's and don'ts. And then if you are inspired by our edit-a-thons, or if you're inspired by, if you want to get your local Sound Girls chapter to do an edit-a-thon, I also posted that link on how to run your own edit-a-thon. Maybe you all want to work on the same article. Maybe you all want to work on different articles. But either way, I have that link available for you as well. So hopefully that is a great springboard in addition to my user page and the articles I wrote on Sound Girls for those who are new and intimidated by Wikipedia.
I'm going to jump in on this question too, actually, because I know I definitely found myself in a place where I was like, it's kind of like learning a new piece of software, like you're on Pro Tools and you want to learn Logic or whatever. There's definitely things that'll make sense, but then there's things that you're like, I have no idea what this is or how to make it work. And this is where Nicole's user page has just been awesome. And maybe actually I'll share my screen and show you guys. Hold on, let me see. See if I can figure out how to share the screen.
Oh, it's under share.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So basically, like what I've been doing is I've been starting from Nicole's page to do pretty much everything. Because like I tried to create a new article fairly early on, and someone flagged it for deletion, and it was pretty frustrating because I'd spent a lot of time looking up stuff, and it just didn't. If someone was like, this person isn't notable, and the person was clearly notable, but then I had to go through and justify why is this person notable and put in more art. Like it just ended up being a headache. So to get started, I'd actually suggest going into Nicole's list, looking for an article that already exists, and look for someone that that is interesting to you. Like I'm just gonna start with Deb because I know we have more information. So like if you look at her page, there's hardly anything here, and Deb is like, I know we've profiled her for Sound Girls. So like what I would do is, let's see, like I would just go to Google, search for her. And what you really want to find are sources that are considered, Wikipedia will call them notable, I guess. So we could do Sound Girls, but if it's like New York Times, Sony, that might be a good one here. Go back. If there's anything from like a big newspaper, you can also search by news, and you may have to just put her name in quotes to see if she shows up. Yeah, so here, the Wrap. So that's an industry website. So that's probably going to be considered fairly notable as opposed to like a blog. So let's see if we can find any information here about Deb that we don't know already on our Wikipedia page. So let's see, she's talking about, no, it's not like here. Let me go back to the Sound Girls page because I know that we have her there. Okay, so here's Deb Adair on Sound Girls, and again, here's her Wikipedia page. It basically just has her birthday. She's a sound engineer, which actually she's a re-recording mixer, so we'll fix that too. And that she's nominated for an Academy Award. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start editing, just edit source. And there's two views here. You can do visual editing or source editing. I'm gonna switch to visual editing. So I'm gonna change this to re-recording, and we'll see if there's actually a category for this already. Let's see. Re-recording mixer, so it shows up. So there, I just linked to her as a re-recording mixer, which is more appropriate than a sound editor or sound mixer, whatever they had. Okay, so she earned a degree from Syracuse University, so let's add that. Adair attended Syracuse University. And I'm going to do this real basic just for the sake of getting it in here. And so I'll take the link. And then in here, I'm going to just link it with a citation. And you just paste in the website. And usually goes a little quicker than this, but what it'll do is okay, there it goes, insert. So now it has inserted that into our references at soundgirls.org. And we have here that information. So we could see, is there anything else? Oh, University, the TV, radio, and film production program. Or in the TV, radio, and film production program. Now let's just say, for example, I do something formatting that doesn't look right. Like I put the period after the citation. There's people who go through and just, that's like all they do is just change stuff like that. Or maybe someone will go through and they'll say, oh, she went to Syracuse. So they would add more information about that program. So that's where it's kind of like, it's good just to do whatever you feel comfortable doing. Like, look, I just made an edit, right? That's, we got something in there. Now anyone who searches for it online is going to see that Deb attended that program. So you kind of just do whatever you can, take baby steps. Like I check her categories too. Like, okay, we know she's a re-recording mixer. She shows up. Let's say there's usually categories for like people born in Connecticut. So, or yeah, 1966 births. And I forget what the category is called. If it's from people from Connecticut or notable people. Like this is where you kind of can just look into Nicole's list. Let me say that again. User. Oops. Did I spell it right? So you go back to Nicole's page, and you can see that she has this list of categories here at the end. So like, let's say if there's one that Deb would fall under. Women in film. So like we could add here. Oh, I guess it's a new category. Maybe I'll let Nicole explain this. But basically, like, say she wasn't listed as a re-recording mixer, you could just go in and add the category re-recording mixer, and that's helping improve the article. And that's kind of the idea, is just to do whatever you can do, whatever you feel comfortable doing to improve it. Let me see, Nicole, do you have any thoughts on that, or?
Well, yeah, any little edit helps. Wikipedia celebrates you doing any little edit. It does not matter. It does not matter any. So you can edit in just a simple what their alma mater is, or you can just you can do things as simple as making sure that their sentences are grammatically correct. Whatever your expertise is, you can stick with your comfort zone until you're ready to branch out of your comfort zone. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking through my list.
Yeah, and I'll go in and if you let me know what you're editing, I will go in and help you with any of that information. If you did a very, very, very basic reference citation and maybe you want a bit more information there, or maybe your article needs to be a journal or something, or you cited a website, but it's actually a journal or something like that. I can go in, if you're not sure on how to do that, I can go in and follow that up for you. And that's, you can do what you can figure out, and that's okay. You don't have to bite off more than you can chew with Wikipedia.
Yeah, I think that's key too, because like there's a lot of things that you can go into a lot of rabbit holes trying to put information in here. And the fact is, anybody can change it. You know, it's like, it'd be like writing a term paper and then having somebody else, you know, go in and completely change it. And I actually had one recently where, you know, and I've been talking to Nicole about it, where we had been going through and adding categories for women in music by country. Let me go. I can show you this. So women record producers. So we just had like this random list of a couple hundred record producers. And we said, okay, well, let's try to categorize this a little bit. So, you know, you can see that a lot of women have been added by their country, but somebody had actually flagged one. They said, you know, this doesn't make sense, or like the way that this was written doesn't make sense. So what they did was they put a note on my talk page. You know, so this just appeared and I got an email about it, and it said, okay, we want to, this has been nominated for deletion, merging, or renaming. So basically someone wanted to change something. They left a notice on my page, and they always leave information about how to do something about it. So here, add your comments to the categories entry. Now I couldn't tell you what this page is or how I got here. I just know, okay, someone left me this note. I went and looked at it. And someone's proposing deleting this category, women record producers from Latin America. And their rationales actually make sense. They're saying, why is it that all these other ones are by country, but Latin America is just Latin America? So I commented back and I said, well, originally we wanted to do it by continent. So maybe African women, American women, Asian women. And then other people kind of chimed in and gave their comments. And eventually, they came to consensus to delete it, which was fine with me. But there's been like other conversations, like we've been dealing with someone who didn't think that it was notable to have they didn't think it was notable to have a section about women record producers on the page about record producers. So then it turns into this discussion where you're going, well, but actually, the Recording Academy has pointed this out. There's been studies done on this. Like it is something that according to, notable sources, like you kind of have to treat it like it's, encyclopedic. Like according to these things, which are considered encyclopedic, this topic would be considered notable to be a part of this article. So I guess what I'm getting at is you can't take it personally if people make changes. But at the same time, there's times where you're going to have to step in and say, hey, dude, you clearly don't know anything about this, but in a rational way, supported with facts, you have to prove that this is an important enough article or thing to add that we need to retain this. And that's where the power of having all of us here is going to be, that if someone does try to delete something or do something that is clearly non-encyclopedic, that we can all band together and comment and say, hey, no, actually, we think this thing should stay. Because it's basically consensus-based, that if there's 5 people who say leave it and one person says delete it, well, they'll keep it. Let me see what else I can add here. So I guess I could talk a little more about searching for information, because this is something that I've been doing for Sound Girls and just for my own side projects. So like there's a Wikipedia page. Let me just go to Ethel Gabriel. She is a record producer who, this page, when I started working on it, was like one section. I mean, it was very short, very brief, and it had a lot of incorrect information. So basically, what I started doing was kind of what I just did with Deb. I'll go to Google, and we'll search for Ethel Gabriel. And I find sometimes searching for people in quotes helps to find better, more accurate information. Like this, that's not Ethel. I don't know where they got that photo, but that's incorrect. So there's IMDb page, but for whatever reason, Wikipedia doesn't see IMDb as you can put that as a list, but you can't really include it as a source for information.
It's because it's user edited.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. So like, and here's, I received a phone call yesterday from Ethel Gabriel, who was told by mutual acquaintance. That's considered a blog. That's not considered like a notable, newsworthy article. So I would hesitate to include anything from, say, that link. But like on page 1 here, there's an article from, Grammys, Grammy website. So this says she had 1 Grammy win and 2 nominations. And it'll say on this page, this is what her win was for, the Tommy Dorsey, Frank Sinatra sessions. So I go back here and somewhere here. Okay, so I added the section, albums produced when she was nominated for a Grammy. And then I included, in the sources, it would be the Grammy website. And basically I look at it that way. Like if you're just trying to put information in that's factual, that can be supported by, this is, the Grammys are the foundation that issued the Grammy. So this is about the best quality you can get for showing that someone had that. I used this article, so someone interviewed her, but this is a newspaper from Rochester. So the information in here, she was the first female producer to work for a record label. She worked for RCA for 4 decades and produced 2,500 records. So that right there helps support. Her Wikipedia page says she produced over 2,500 albums, and somewhere here, she was the first female record producer for a major label. And I think you can even add 2 sources. So here I have, there's that article I was just looking at, and then there's a Billboard magazine that I referenced as well. So that's another thing too, if you just want to add more stuff to kind of, if you find things that support something you've already written, you can add that in as a second. Let me look up, this is a new article I just created recently. Lenise Bent. So I knew just from my history of like editing stuff on Wikipedia that people will flag things and say, this person isn't notable. So Lenise, for anyone who knows her, especially in the Fangirls community, Lenise is like a legend, right? She is she's respected in our industry as being a person of significance. But according to maybe Wikipedia standards, she doesn't have Grammy wins or nominations. So I basically had to figure out a way of like, how do you immediately explain Denise is notable, right? Because we know she is, but Wikipedia doesn't. So we put, she is one of a handful of women working in the Hollywood recording studio business in a technical role during the 1970s. And she was the first woman to receive a platinum album for engineering this album by Blondie. So then from there, if you go down to the references, I just made sure that I put in as much possible from reputable sources. We have the Audio Engineering Society, Billboard Magazine. Carrie's page is another one where I was like, okay, you know, we could talk all about Sound Girls on our whole page, but you look at the references, NPR, The Atlantic, Huffington Post. What else do we have? A book. You know, book references are great because that's you know, hard to dispute if there's an ISBN number that somebody, you know, that somebody is notable. And the way you can do that, you can search books.google.com. So we'll just search for Carrie. So, you know, and here she is. Here's some stuff about Sound Girls in this book called Behind the Scenes Music Careers. There's a photo of Carrie in this book. I know Carrie's on the call, but it's just a good example of how this works. You know, she gave a speech at the 2017 She Rocks Awards. Well, that proves right there she was at the awards. She received an award. She's been a sound engineer for Pearl Jam since 1992. So that's why that article or that book is so important, Behind the Scenes Music Careers. So if you're creating a new article, that's the type of thing I would definitely look for. If you're looking to update an article, I would totally look Google Books, Google News, those tend to be, and then just look at what the source actually is. And you can also search for people by their maiden name. Sometimes that'll bring up information you haven't found otherwise. And the thing about the photos is you basically have to find photos that are copyright, like that you are allowed to use them. And so there's a couple, you can actually search for that in Google. Let me see, go to images, tools, usage right, we want labeled for non-commercial reuse. No image results. So that basically means there are no pictures of Carrie online that we could use on Wikipedia. Ethel Gabriel, none of these pictures are Ethel, so I would not be able to use these photos. I don't really know how the process works if you put up a photo that's not, that they don't have the copyright to use, but this is about as far as...
They flag them. Yeah, they will go and flag it as a edit. And someone will go on the talk page and mention that they took this picture down because it had a copyright issue. You can upload pictures that you took of them if you want, but that's a little bit trickier usually because, like, I consistently write articles for Sound Girls. So right now, I wouldn't want to edit an article on Carrie Keys because I might not be an unbiased writer of articles. So I might not want to, if I took a picture of like a selfie of Carrie and I or something like that, and I cropped it so that it was just Carrie and I put it on her page, I may not want to do that necessarily, but I could. But anyway, I might not want to just because of the bias, but if I have a picture of her in action, and it's just a relatively neutral, professional looking picture, kind of like these pictures here on April's screen share. Each of these women are kind of them in action of their particular thing or a painting. And all of those, if they're open or not protected by copyright, or if they're a personal picture that, since you've uploaded it to Wikimedia Commons, you have now determined that it has no copyright protections, you can then put it on Wikipedia.
And I just noticed all these pictures come from Wikipedia. But yeah, I don't really spend a lot of time on pictures. Like, if I feel like it, I might, quick come in and search this. And sometimes it actually will lead you to an article. But like, even if you're just looking for not filtered by license, like, here's an article about her. There's another one. Some of these are not her, but it's just another way to search because some people just don't show up in a traditional way. But Nicole brings up a good point about, like, you really shouldn't write about yourself or people that you know. Like, I know Annalie Blanc is is one that we need to write. And, I know her, so I probably shouldn't write it, but I know that there's a ton of information about her. So if you have any interest in learning about her and about, how she mixed Game of Thrones or whatever, it can be a fun way to learn about somebody that, that you're interested in how they do their work or whatever, but you're also contributing to Wikipedia so that everybody can share in what you've learned about her. But I pretty much just go to Nicole's list. Like, if I need to, and to search for her, you have to type in user first. And then I go to her talk page. And that's pretty much how I've kind of gotten started learning how to, oh, sorry, not the talk page. It's on her main page, user page. And this is kind of how I just learned how to do Wikipedia, was really through this. Because for me, actually, I started just because I was, like, for Sound Girls, I was interviewing people. And I'm writing the stuff for Sound Girls. And then I find an error. And I said, oh, well, I guess this shouldn't be that hard. I should be able to fix it. And I just kind of started that way, just fixing problems as I found it. And then when I kind of started getting a little deeper into it is when I kind of started going here and saying, okay, I'm just going to pick an article. And like, here's an example of where I put in a note. Pud Cusack, I was researching her for Sound Girls. She's very private. There's hardly any information about her. I could not find a single interview with her. So this is about the extent of what I know about her. So I just added a note to Nicole's page that just said, there's not a lot of information about her. So then if someone else goes through, they don't go down the same rabbit hole trying to figure out, what we can add about her. Someone like Mary Ellis, like, I know that I just didn't have time to put it into Wikipedia, but I knew that she did some interviews for First Man. So, it'd be a good time to go look her up again and add some stuff to her page. Because she's another one where just not a lot of information about her. She doesn't do a lot of public interviews. I know she is on the CAS board, so why don't we just go ahead and add that? This is kind of how this happens. I go, oh yeah, I totally forgot that she got nominated to the board of directors. Okay, so here's an article about it. So I'm going to copy that, go back to Mary's page, and we're just going to add. And you can add, like, sometimes if you just add it wherever, sometimes you can make a structure out of it. So we'll say Ellis, and actually Ellis should say Ellis instead of the first name. Was named to the Cinema Audio Society Board of Directors in 2019. And we will cite that. I just pasted that under automatic, generate, and then Wikipedia does all the nitty-gritty for getting that to work. But this is a good example of, like, okay, we're starting to get enough information here that maybe we could craft this into something that looks a little nicer. So let's say, oh, look, and there's a misspelling. We'll fix that. So the first paragraph is kind of like this person's highlights. And then, and then let's say, I'm just going to make up some stuff. We'll say education. And we'll copy and paste that, and we're going to add a heading. We'll just call this, oops, do it as a heading. And then it puts a nice line underneath it. I mean, there's not enough information to really make this nice, but I'll just do something here so that we have something.
Next section would be like career.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that. Education, career. So that's another thing you can do to articles too, is if you find an existing article where there's a good amount of information, like it's just hard to read when it's just line after line, paragraph after paragraph. It's like reading a paper, you know. This kind of makes it feel a little more structured, and if someone wants to search for information, like just for specific information. Let's see. So let's see. Would you add, so Ellis is from Atlanta. So we're talking about Atlanta. Would that fit under?
So with education, you do life and education.
Perfect. Okay. And then we'll just leave it like that. So now suddenly if I publish it, what's cool is it'll automatically populate with contents now, right? So that looks a lot cleaner than it did before. Can you think of anything else to add?
Not at this. I was thinking of some things, but yeah. So like going in and editing something as simple as that. Like you could do maybe just one of the edits that April did, and that would be just. That's still helpful. That's still useful. And then, I remember. So Google Books is a great resource, as April said. But also, if you want to look up journals or magazines, a lot of times, if you can look up like a magazine archive where it's a permanent link to that article instead of some news websites update the URLs of things periodically, especially if they're either newer articles or very old articles. So if you look up like a magazine archive or a journal archive, you can find a permanent link from like not just Billboard Books, but Billboard. Maybe there's a industry magazine that goes with the Billboard Books, or
yeah, because like this link right here, it's just this really like long weird link, even though this is Billboard magazine from May 12th, 2001. So sometimes I might actually add in, like, I'm not going to actually do this for real, but add a citation. You can manually say this is from Billboard magazine. Whoops. And if you ever misspell something, someone else might fix it. Oh wait, actually the journal would be Billboard, and then the name of the article, RCA 100 Years of Music, and so on. So you can also add it that way if you want to take the time to do that. Because I don't think it'll even, if I paste that in, I don't think it'll find it. Oh, I guess it did. I mean, it's not completely accurate. It's because it's not a book. It's a magazine article. But yeah, I mean, I think the key to getting started is like you have to do stuff that keeps you interested and keeps it fun. Because if you spend all this time working on an article and then someone deletes it all, or they, I had an article that got flagged for plagiarism, and I just didn't realize like it is really particular about, like if the original article said she won 3 Emmy Awards for outstanding film sound mixing and like this, right? You really have to change it. You really have to say she received 3 Emmy Awards. The 3 Emmy Awards were for this category, like whatever it is to make it so that it won't get flagged as like, oh, you only changed 4 words. And that's really frustrating too, to then have to backtrack and figure out how to either fix that or get other people to help you fix it when you've put the time into it. So that's why I think baby steps are better, just to kind of get a feel for if you like it and what you can do to contribute. I'm trying to think what else on my list. Yeah, the only thing about creating, did you talk at all about making things as drafts and sandbox? Like you mentioned.
Yeah. So I mentioned that I haven't really used Sandbox that much, but I likened it to an Etch-a-Sketch. Essentially, you can create everything you would use, or you would for a regular article, but you can practice. And it's not really going to be permanently saved.
It's like, yeah, I'm just writing stuff and I just introduce the citations and I can publish it. But the thing is, it just lives now on my Sandbox. So I think you would be able to see this, right?
I don't, let me see if I can. So, user act audio. I cannot see your Sandbox.
Okay, so yeah, that's a really good place to like practice and let's do write more, yada yada. We'll publish it, and then if you did actually want to move this eventually, like okay, you're like, okay, I got a really nice article, I feel good about it. At that point, you just move it, and you move it to. Do you go to the main Wikipedia, or do you go to draft probably?
Yeah, probably draft.
Yeah, there's basically two ways to create articles. You can create it as a draft, and then someone goes through, an administrator goes through and reviews it, and then they'll move it to the live Wikipedia site. You can also create articles or move articles straight into Wikipedia. If there's any problems, it's probably going to get flagged to be deleted. Whereas if you just create it as a draft, you'll get people who are coming in and editing and helping you support it, or they'll just say, we don't think this is good enough, but keep working on it. So it's kind of like, a draft, exactly. Like it's like a draft that you might submit to someone to look at, but it's not going out for the public to see just yet. Let me see, what else do I have? Are there any questions? Trying to think of if there's anything else that's good to, like the alerts will show you if someone's left a message on your talk page. Okay, so how does email work? Because I've gotten this before. Someone sent you an email. I have no idea how they sent me an email.
I have never had anyone send me an email. I think it's just like a personal, like it's direct to you, not necessarily public on a talk page. And so that's probably why. So like if it's just one more way to resolve discussions or be helpful. It might be something that like possibly the tea house might do or something like that. I have no idea.
So because basically, and this took me a little while to figure out too, if you want to talk to people in Wikipedia, it's not like Facebook where you can send them a direct message. It's sort of like you have to put something on their feed so anybody can see it. But the weird thing about Wikipedia is anybody can edit it also. Like in theory, I could take what Nicole wrote on my page, which I can't find it right now, and I could edit it. I could edit what she wrote, and that's kind of confusing. It's a little that's where you're kind of given trust to work on other people's pages and writing them notes and stuff.
And try to limit any discussion you have with people to the talk pages. I have personally said that April can make little notes on my user page just because she's doing the same thing that I'm doing, trying to moderate similar articles. But normally that's probably not something you ever do. So that's where talk pages are the go-to interaction space between people.
And I know when you create a new account, because someone asked that earlier, it'll automatically click on your talk page or within a couple days. So you're invited to the tea house. And I've actually found tea house to be really useful. So I've left this on my talk page. So you visit the tea house and you just click here to ask a question. You ask your question, you publish it, and then you'll get an alert that someone answered it. And the types of questions people ask are everything from this photo, I don't have copyright, to like I had one where I accidentally misspelled someone's name when I published their article, and so then someone in the tea house went in and fixed it, because I was like, I don't even have any idea how to fix this, but please help me. And that's the type of thing that they're really good at helping with. But let me just, for the sake of showing how to do it, like let's say I want to leave a message for Nicole. So we'll go to her talk page and we'll just add a new section. And then I'm going to add 2, 3, 4. So then she'll know who it is. Because otherwise you don't know who wrote a message if they didn't put their signature, right? Or can you just look in the history?
You cannot. It's one of those, it's like either hard to find or something like that.
Okay. So either way, this just posted it here. And because I put those 4 tildes, it added my signature with the time and the date and my information. So then if Nicole wanted to, she could either respond back by hitting edit source and writing a message underneath, or she could click on my page and go to my talk page and make a section to talk to me. I also use my talk page just to remind myself what I'm working on, like if I have to stop or if I notice a page that I think needs help. And I've actually been like, there's guys pages too. I try to focus my energy on women on Wikipedia, but occasionally I find a guy's page where it's like, Steve Epstein's won, like, I couldn't even tell you how many Grammys, and his page is pretty weak. Oh, I must have gone in and added a little more. But yeah, sometimes you'll get people with the same name, and then you just have to add at the end. I'm not sure, do you do that when you create the...
You do it when you create the page.
Okay.
And there are ways, it gets for Intuit, but I have some mentions of like on my list of articles for creation, there's a few of them that are blue links, and that's because either that page is merged with another page, or there's a disambiguation. So articles that there's probably a more famous Stephen Epstein, or there's only there's multiple Stephen Epsteins that are not that are equally famous.
Yep, we got professors, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to then choose you have to add a section on yours that that is or just something like a profession or way that they're notable.
Oh, and one other thing you can do to edit too. So like, say we got this list of all these artists here, right? And you can click on each of them, and that'll go to their page. Well, if you find someone's missing one, you can go to edit source. And if it looks like this just means you're in visual mode. For source editing, you need to be in visual editing.
Yeah, I use source mode all the time instead of visual, but
yeah, because I sometimes copy and paste it. So let's say, I'm sure there's a page for the New York Philharmonic. So we'll go to this little link up here, New York Philharmonic, and that'll add it. And same thing. Sometimes you'll find that with people, like you'll find a mention of a person in the article that they have a page. Or like this, I'm kind of surprised, Classical Producer of the Year. I'm pretty sure this has a page, so we'll just search. Oops, English. Grammy Classical. Grammy Award for Best Engineered Album, Non-Classical. Grammy Award for Producer of the Year. Okay, so this is the page that we need. It's called Grammy Award for Producer of the Year. So here we'll just edit this. There we go. So red means that the page doesn't exist. Green means that it's a active one. So cool. So I just made 2 little fixes, and that improved the article. So even if you only have like 2 minutes, or you're reading something on Wikipedia and you're like, oh, this is interesting, but I think that, oh, this thing could be fixed. You know, you can just go in and do it. And over time, you kind of just get more comfortable with making those changes. And the other thing too, if anyone has any problems within Wikipedia, you can always email us directly with questions.
Yep.
But yeah, can you think of anything else? I think that was kind of all that was on my list.
Yeah, I tried to cover a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of just a good overview of what it looks like and how to navigate, and it can be really frustrating. I know at the beginning I was like, it's just like learning to use Pro Tools. It's like, I know this thing exists. I've seen people do it. I just cannot for the life of me figure out what page it's on, and some of the Wikipedia help pages I find are not particularly helpful. Occasionally you can find a video on YouTube. You can search, but I mean, honestly, the easiest way to figure out stuff when I've had a problem is ask Nicole or ask the tea house, because you can ask it in like a human way, like, this is what I'm trying to do, in a way that if you were to search on Google, you might not find it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would love to do a Sound Girls page. But that's another one where you kind of have to disclose that, or you should disclose that you are part of an organization or know people.
Yeah, and that's where like bias has to be avoided.
So for something like that, I would, where I would start would be, and this is something that we could, if anyone's interested, we could do this as a starter thing. Yeah, so like Billboard, there's a reference to Sound Girls on Billboard magazine. PSN, I mean, I know there's stuff from really good sources like Billboard, and I know it's been mentioned in books. So if it's the type of thing where you have to completely be objective and like really just include the information from these books, Careers for Tech Girls, the same ones that we used in Carrie's article. Can be done. And just to get enough information there that the page will exist. Oh yeah, sound mixing and TV for film. That has information about Sound Girls. So there are sources they could use that would show that Sound Girls is a notable, has been recognized by notable news sources. And then just, not get into objective stuff. You really just keep it factual about, this is when the organization started, and this is who founded it, and this is what they do, and this is why it's important. And then just hope it doesn't get flagged.
And if it does get flagged, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could have a section about the equal directory, because again, that's something that made the news. I'm sure there's more references on Billboard about Sound Girls. Like, here's The Atlantic. That's another good article. And yeah, you just have to do it in a way, because the thing is, you can tell sometimes, like, I've seen a lot of pages from musicians where you can tell it's the band made it themselves, or someone who knew the band, because it completely feels promotional, and it's not, it feels more like you're trying to promote as opposed to educate. Yeah, it's all these same articles that I can carry. So.
Yeah.
I guess if there's no questions, and we've I think we've really covered it. What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, I think so too, but go ahead, Carrie.
I think you guys covered everything. It makes a lot more sense to me now.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
I think we got 2 responses saying thanks, and this was helpful. So.
Awesome. You guys did great.
And they can always jump to my talk page and April's talk page if there's more in-depth questions. So.
Okay.
Or just to practice. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and we recorded this, so
Yep.
I think the Zoom will send it to me by tomorrow, and then I can get it posted up for everybody else.
Okay.
Awesome. And I haven't seen anything like this. I watched a bunch of videos and stuff, so I think this will be helpful to people.
Yeah, and then they can go back and rewatch it too, so that's handy.
Okay.
Well, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Sorry again I got on so late. I've been having toddler issues the last couple days.
No worries.